everyone, it's Allison. Welcome back to financialflamingo.com. Today I have a very requested video. We are going to be talking all about sinking funds. So how they work, what the heck they are, how I set mine up, what I'm planning on doing for 2020. We are going to go over all of those different things. So if you have never used sinking funds before, or you've heard of them but you've never actually used them, this will be the video for you. I will go over all the basics, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so what the heck is a sinking fund? So you can see here I have my January 2020 sinking funds tracker in my budget planner that I have started to set up. So this is something that I track every month. So let's talk about what a sinking fund even is. A sinking fund is basically a savings account that you set up to save for something that you know you are going to have to pay for. It might not be something that you know when you have to pay for it. You might not know exactly how much it's going to be, but you know that that expense is coming. For example, you know Christmas is in December every year. That shouldn't be a surprise at the end of the year that you end up having to scramble to find money for. Other examples are vet funds, back to school funds if you have kids. What else? Car maintenance funds, just anything that is kind of like an expense you know you are going to have to pay at some point, that you can be saving for a little bit at a time so that it's not so overwhelming when that expense happens. Because that is the basic purpose of a sinking fund. You're putting a little bit of money in each month or each paycheck so that you are not having to pay a huge expense all at once. So let's look at an example. So let's say that I have, and this is an actual fund that I have. So let's talk about like a car maintenance fund. I drive a lot for work, so I know that I'm going to need an oil change like I think I end up getting them every 2 to 3 months. I drive a lot, so I know that I'm gonna have to pay for oil changes a lot. I know that I'm gonna have to get tires every couple of years. So that is stuff that I don't want to have to scramble when I suddenly realize I need an oil change and have to find the money in my budget, especially if that month is heavy on paying for other things. So what I do is I set a certain amount that I save every single paycheck that goes into my car maintenance sinking fund, so that whenever I do need an oil change, or if I need brakes or something like that, I know that I have some money specifically set aside to do maintenance on my vehicle. So some things for sinking funds, you will not know when the expense will happen and you won't know how much it will cost. And then other ones are a little bit easier to figure out, like Christmas. You know when Christmas is and you can kind of plan ahead how much you want to save by the holiday season. So overview, sinking funds are just little savings accounts you have for specific goals or specific expenses that you put a little bit of money into each month to get you to either a goal amount or just to be sure that you have money for expenses when they pop up. So one side note I do want to say, these are separate from an emergency fund. An emergency fund would be for something that is urgent and unexpected. So these are really like, these might end up being urgent expenses for sinking funds, but they're usually not unexpected. Or if they are unexpected, it would be like, for example, I have a vet fund. Vet trips are always a little bit unexpected when they happen, but I have pets, so I know that at some point somebody might need to go to the vet. So I think you got that. You kind of get the idea that sinking funds are planning ahead basically, so that you're not trying to cash flow everything in a single month. So let's talk about how to actually set sinking funds up. So the first thing that I do is I figure out what expenses I know I'm going to have during the year. So let me grab a notebook here and let's brainstorm we're gonna just set up my sinking funds for the year, kind of just brainstorm what we're doing, and I'll walk you through the whole process. So the sinking funds that I usually have are Christmas, because you know Christmas is coming every year. Car maintenance, like I said. Vet fund for all of my little creatures. And then I usually have a property tax fund, because I know property tax has to be paid every year in my state. And then what else do I want to do this year? I usually also have a gifts and miscellaneous category, because this is just for like if I unexpectedly get invited to a baby shower, or if I need to go to a wedding last minute, something like that. I know I have a little bit of money in there to help me cash flow that. This doesn't happen very often, so I don't really put a ton in there, but we will get to that. So once you have your ideas or your funds brainstorm, so other things you could think of are like clothing, if you want to buy clothing at certain times of the year. If you have kids, you could do back to school clothes or school supplies. If you're saving for vacation, I would count that as a sinking fund. Just things like that that you know if you have a goal to save. So now that we have our list, let's talk about how much we want to save. So I do my sinking funds by each paycheck, and I get paid twice a month. So I set a goal for the ones I can set a goal for. So I'm just going to show you, and hopefully this makes sense. So I want to save $1,000 this year for Christmas. Car maintenance, I don't have a goal. Vet fund, I don't have a goal. Property tax, I need to save $500. And then gifts and miscellaneous, I won't have a goal. So let's do these two first, and then we'll talk about how I decide how much I want to save for these things that don't have like a set goal I'm working towards. So like I said, I get paid twice a month. So $1,000, let's talk about how much I need to save each paycheck. So I got my little calculator out here. So I want to do $1,000, not 10,000, $1,000 divided by 24, because that's how many paychecks I get in a year. And that is $41.60. So that's how much I need to save each paycheck to get me to my goal by the end of the year. So I'm going to do $42 a check. And then we're going to do the same thing for property tax. And that is $21 a check. So hopefully that makes sense. You just divide it by how long you want to save for. So if you don't want to save for the whole year, let's say you're saving for 6 months. Let's say you're going on vacation and you want to save $1,000 in 6 months, and you get paid twice a month. So you would just divide it by 12, because that would be 6 times 2 for paychecks, and you would need to save $83 each check. You can do this monthly. So if you wanted to save for a whole year, what am I doing? You wanted to save for a whole year and got paid monthly, that's how much you would need to save each month to get that. So I think you get the idea. So let's talk about how I decide how much I want to save for these. So for my car maintenance fund, when I get an oil change, it's usually between $60 and $100. So I usually go on the high end of $100. So that's $100, and I usually get an oil change like every 3 to 4 months. So let's go on the 3-month basis, and that is $33.33. So I don't like, I'm weird. I don't like saving weird amounts if I can help it. Like, I know these are weird amounts, but I rounded them off. I don't like saving this weird amount. So I'm just gonna make this $30 each. Oh, this is a month. So if I want to save each check, I want to divide it by 6. So that's $16 each check. So I'm going to write a month here and then do $16 next to it, just for my own brain. Okay, and then what's next? Vet fund. This is just how I've been doing it. I save, have I been doing $50? I've been doing $50 a month. So I want to save $25 a check. That's just, there's already some money in my vet fund because I've been doing this for a year now. And that is just a number that I feel comfortable with. You kind of will just have to pick a number to start and then decide if that's going to be enough money. You can kind of use the same method I did for my car maintenance, that if your dog needs its nails trimmed every 4 months, how much does that cost? Divide it by 4, and then maybe add a little bit in case there's an emergency or something. hopefully that makes sense. You kind of just have to trial and error on how much you want to spend, and it also depends on how much will fit in your budget. So we will talk about that in a minute. Gifts and miscellaneous, I just saved $20 a month. So $10 a check, just because I don't use this very much and I don't need a ton of money to be sitting in there. So that is my total amounts. So this is, let's add it up, how much it is for each check. So 42 plus 16, because remember this was our check amount, 25, 21, and then 10. Oop, 10. So that is $114 per check that I get that goes into my sinking funds. So that, it could be a lot to a lot of people, so you really just have to figure out what is going to fit in your budget and then what you actually need to pay for. So if I had to cut some things out of this, if I didn't have enough room in my budget to save this much, I would cut out the gifts and miscellaneous and probably cut my Christmas down like to $600 or something like that. I drive so much for work. I need a car maintenance fund. I need a vet fund since I have pets, and I have to pay my property tax at the end of the year. So these are kind of my three that are non-negotiable that I always save at least something for each check. So that is kind of how that works. Now let's talk about where to actually save this money. So I personally recommend having a separate savings account for each of your funds. If that it seems overwhelming to you to have that many accounts, you can just do one and then keep track of what, like, how much of it is in each of these categories. I think it's easier for myself, just personally, to be able to see what I have for each of these categories. So I use Capital One 360 savings accounts, and they are linked to a checking account that I have a debit card for, so that I can transfer and access this money very easily, but it's not in my normal spending bank account or connected to my normal spending bank account. So I have separate savings accounts for each one. Capital One 360 is nice because I can name my savings accounts these different things, and it makes it really, really easy at a glance to see what the heck I have in each savings account, and it makes it really easy to transfer money when I need it. I don't have to worry about going to the bank or anything like that. So that is how I save my actual sinking fund money. So every time I get paid, I just look at my list and transfer the money over into each account, and it's easy and done. I don't have to think hard about what I'm saving, what I should be saving, or anything like that. I have it laid out for the year, and it's easy and ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and put these into my sinking funds tracker. So I have Christmas, car maintenance, my vet fund, property tax, and then gifts and miscellaneous. So I will look at my online bank account right now. Okay, so I have my sinking funds pulled up on my phone. So a lot of them are zero right now because of the holidays and my property tax being paid. So right now there is 0 in my Christmas fund, there is 0 in my property tax fund, there is $126.36 in my car maintenance, there is $271.03 in my vet fund, and then there's 0 in this account because I used it for another thing because I don't use this account very much, so I used it for I think Christmas gifts. So that is my starting balance. Throughout this month, when I make my transfers into my savings account, each paycheck, I keep talking too fast and getting ahead of myself, I will put in the amounts as I add them, and then if I have to take any money out of any of these funds, so let's say I have to go get an oil change, then I will put that in the subtraction column, and then at the end of January, when I do my January budget wrap up, I calculate out what I have left in each of these accounts and roll it over to the starting of February's. So that is kind of how that works. Hopefully that all makes sense. That is really the basic overview of sinking funds. I think sinking funds are really, really helpful and really important because they can really save your budget if something comes up. Like if I have a rabbit that needs to go to the vet suddenly, I don't have to worry about where to pull that money from. I just know that I have some money in a sinking fund, and it makes situations a lot less stressful. So I really do think they can save your budget and keep you from just completely blowing a budget one month if you have a lot of things that come up at one time. It makes Christmas less stressful because you know you have the money for gifts, just things like that. It just streamlines your finances a little bit and keeps you from having to worry so much about those big expenses. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Hopefully it makes sense. If you have any questions at all, please leave them down below in the comments and I will try to get you the answers. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. You can find out more about sinking funds and just budgeting in general on my other videos on my channel and at my website, financialflamingo.com. I will have all the links down below to my website and all my social media if you guys want to check that out. And if you enjoyed this video or want to learn more about personal finance and budgeting, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.